Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Runestone, and today we're going to be looking at the preview cards of Kaldheim, which arrive in 2 weeks from now. I'm really curious to see what we got. And the first card on the list is Elder Leaf Mentor. It costs 3 colors and a force, and it says whenever Leaf Mentor enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 Green Elf warrior token for a 3/2. Next card is Bredegard Stronghold. It's a land, and it comes in the battlefield tap it, add a forest, or 1 forest, 2 white mana. Sacrifice the stronghold, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. They gain vigilance and lifelink until end of turn. Activate this ability only one time you can cast a sorcery. The next card we have is Masked Vandal. It costs 1 colorless and a forest. It's a shapeshifter, and when it enters the battlefield, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, exile a target artifact or enchantment on opponent controls, and it's a 1/3. Next is Gold Maul Champion. It's a white card with 2 colors and white mana. It's a dwarf warrior, and it has Boast. It says 1 color and white, tap target creature. It's a 2/3. Boast is activate this ability only if this creature attacked this turn, and only once each turn. Next is Rally of the Ranks. It costs 1 color and 1 white mana. It's an enchantment, and it says as Rally of the Ranks enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures of your control of the chosen type get +1/+1. Next we have is Agar the Freezing Flame for 1 blue and red and colorless. It says whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant wizard or spell you control dealt damage this turn, draw a card. It's a 3/3, not bad. Next is the exact same card, but a different one. This is the alternate card version. It's the Freezing Flame, and it says again, whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, it is dealt excess damage. If giant, wizard, or a spell you control dealt damage this turn, draw a card. And the next card on the list is Graven Lore. It costs 3 colors and 2 blue mana. It's a snow instant. It says scry X, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast the spell, then draw 3 cards. Next is Smashing Success. It costs 3 colors and 1 red mana. It's an instant. It says destroy target artifact or land. If an artifact is destroyed this way, create a treasure token. If it's an artifact with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. Next is Axgard Cavalry. It's a dwarf berserker, and it costs 1 color and 1 red mana. It says tap to target creature gains haste until end of turn, and it's a 2/2. Next we have Surtland Frostpire. It's a land, and it comes into play tapped. It says tapping ability, add 1 red mana, or for 2 colors, 2 blue and a red, sacrifice it, scry 2, then it deals 2 damage to each creature. Activate this ability only at time you can cast a sorcery. And next, as you can see, is just a regular good old swamp, basic swamp from that series. Next we have is Crush the Weak. It costs 2 colors and 1 red mana. It's a sorcery. It says Crush the Weak deals 2 damage to each creature. If a creature dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile instead, and it also has Foretell. Next is Great Hall of Starnhelm. It's a land, and it comes into the battlefield tap. Tap it to add 1 black mana. Then its ability is 2 white mana and a black. Sacrifice it. And a creature you control, create a 4/4 white angel warrior creature token with flying and vigilance. Activate this ability only for as you cast a sorcery. Next is Nico Defies Destiny. It costs 1 colors, white and a blue, and it's a Sega card, so it's an enchantment. It says you gain 2 life for each foretold card you own in exile. That's 1. Number 2 is add a white and blue. Spend this mana only to foretell cards or cast that have foretell. And number 3 says return target card with foretell from your graveyard to your hand. Next is Demon Bolt for 2 colors and 1 red mana, and it says Demon Bolt deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and it has the ability foretell. Next card we have is Tyrite Sanctum. It's a land. Tap it to add 1 colorless. For 2 colors, target legendary creature becomes a god. In addition to other types, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Pay 4 colors, sacrifice this, and put it in a additional counter card on that god. Next is Piffering Hawk for 1 colors and blue mana. It's a snow creature bird, and it has flying for 1/2 for snow permanent. It says draw a card, then discard a card. Next we have is Axgard Armory. It comes into play tapped, and you can add 1 white mana or 1 colors, 2 red mana and white. Sacrifice it to search for an aura card or an equipment card, reveal it, and then put it to your hand, and then shuffle your library. Next card is Squash for 4 colors and 1 red mana. This costs 3 less to cast if you control the giant. Squash deals 6 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Next is Brine Barrow Intruder for 1 blue mana. It's a 1/2 and it has flash. This human rogue, when it enters the battlefield, target creature and opponent controls gets -2, -0 until end of turn. Next is Arnie Broken Bro. It's a legendary creature, human berserker for 2 colors and 1 red mana. It's a 3/3. It has haste, and it has boast for 1. Next is Not Vault of Slumberbound. It's a land, and as a battlefield tap, add 1 red mana or 3 colors, 1 red and 2 forest. Sacrifice it, destroy target land, and create a 4/4 green troll warrior token with trample. Next is In Search of Greatness for 2 forests. As an enchantment, at the beginning of every keep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with a converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control without paying its mana cost if you don't scry 1. Next is Breakneck Berserker for 2 colors and 1 red mana. It's a dwarf berserker with haste, and it's a 3/2. Next we have is Revitalize for 1 colors and 1 white mana. It's an instant, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Next is Over the Olive Form for 3 colors, 1 blue. It's a shapeshifter, and it's a changeling. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets 1 or more permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of one of those permanents. When a spell or ability your opponent controls causes you to discard a card, create a token that's a copy of that permanent. Next is Dream Devourer for 1 colors and 1 black mana. It's a Demon Cleric for 0/3. Each non-land card in your hand without Foretell has Foretell. Foretell costs equal to the mana reduced by 2. Next we have is Scent of the Worthy, and it costs 1 colors, white and a swap. This Sega, choose a creature you control. Until in your next turn, all damage that would be dealt to the creatures you control is dealt to that creature instead. And for number 3, it says return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a flying counter on it. That creature is an angel warrior in addition to its other type. Next is Babel Math for 3 colors and 2 forests. It's an elephant. Trample. Whenever a permanent control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. It has Foretell for 2 colors and 2 forests. Next is Horizon Seeker for 2 colors and a forest. It's a human warrior with Boast, 1 colors and a forest. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Next is Port of Carfel. It comes into battlefield tap. Add 1 to your mana pool, or 3 colors, blue, 2 black. Sacrifice, mill 4 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Next we have Birgi, God of Storytelling. Costs 2 colors and 1 red mana. It's a legendary god. It says whenever you cast a spell, add red mana. Until end of turn, you don't lose the mana as the step and phases ends. Creatures you control can boast twice during each of your turns rather than once. Then there's Rune of Speed, which costs 1 colors, 1 red mana. It's an aura rune. Enchant permanent. When Rune of Speed enters the battlefield, draw a card. As long as an enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/0 and has haste. As long as the enchanted permanent is an equipment, it has enchanted creature gets +1/0 and has haste. Next is Jarl of Forsaken. It costs 3 colors and a swamp. It has flash. It's a zombie cleric. And when it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn with a Foretell of 1 colors and 1 swamp. Next is Doomscar with 3 colors and 2 white, and it says destroy all creatures with Foretell, 1 colors and 2 white mana. There's a Rune Forge Champion with 2 colors and 1 white mana. It's a dwarf warrior. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library or graveyard for a rune card, reveal it, and put it in your hand. If you search your library this way, then shuffle it. You may pay 1 rather than pay the mana cost for rune spells you cast. Then there's Stornham Courser. It's a Pegasus, flying. Artifact and enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. For that, 2 colors and 1 white mana to play it. Then we have Sylvia Ice Shaper, 1 colors, red and forest. And you can tap it for 3 to create an Ice Mantle, which has that ability to tap down 1 mana of any color. Then you have the ability to look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may cast a spell that with among them with paying its mana cost. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in random order. And there's Way Down. It's a sorcery. As additional cost to cast the spell, exile a creature card from your graveyard. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. And we have Dragonkin Berserker for 1 colors and a red. It's a human berserker with first strike 2/2. Both abilities you activate cost 1 less to activate for each dragon you control. Both with 4 colors and a red mana. Next is Craven Hulk with 3 colors and a red mana. It's a giant coward. Craven Hulk can't block alone with that 4/4. Next is Blood Sky Massacre for 1 color, swamp, and a mountain, and it's an enchantment. Create a 2/3 red demon berserker creature token for phase 1. Phase 2 is whenever a berserker attacks this turn, you draw a card and lose 1 life. And the last one is add a red mana for each berserker you control. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as it steps as it phases in. And there's Orvar, the All Form. It's a changeling. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, if it targets 1 or more permanents you control, create a token and a copy of one of those permanents. Whenever you spell or ability controls Causes you to discard a card, create a token of that copy for a target opponent. Then there's Invoke of the Divine. It's an instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. You gain 4 life for that 2 colors and white mana. Then there's Burning Ruin Demon for 4 colors and 2 swamp. And it says, when Burning Ruin Demon enters the battlefield, you may search your library for exactly 2 cards not named Burning Ruin Demon that may have different names. If you do, reveal those cards and an opponent chooses one of them. Put the chosen card into your hand and the other into your graveyard, then shuffle your library for that 6/6 as well. This 1/1 spirit is basically 2 snow permanents, become a spirit warrior for a base power of 2/3, or it become a 4/4 warrior angel, or it can become a angel with 2 +1/+1 counters, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then we have Shackles of Treachery, and it says gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap that creature. Until end of turn, it gains haste, and whenever that creature deals damage, destroy target equipment attached to it. Next is Raven Wings for 2 colorless mana. Equipped creature gets +1/0, has flying, and is a bird addition to other types equipped to. Next is Draugr Thought Thief, 2 colors and a blue. And when it enters the battlefield, look at the top card of target player's library. You may put that card into their graveyard for a 3/2. Next is Righteous Valkyrie for 2 colorless and 1 white mana. That's 2/4 flying. Whenever another angel or cleric enters the battlefield under control, gain life to that creature's power and toughness. As long as you have at least 7 more life, creatures you control get +2/+2. Next is Basalt Ravager for 3 colors and a red. When it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to any target where X is the greatest number of creatures you control to have that creature type in common. Next is Replenishment Marshal. It's flying. When it enters the battlefield or dies, you may exile another creature card from your graveyard. When you put a +1/+ counter on each creature you control other than Marshal that shares a creature type with the exiled card. Next is Mist of Litjara for 1 color and blue. Flash with enchanted creature or vehicle. Enchanted creature gets -3/0. Then we have Blood and Snow, 4 colors and 2 swamp. It says choose one, destroy all creatures, destroy all planeswalkers, or then return a creature or planeswalker with the current mana cost X or less to the graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast that spell. Then we have Ruin of Might for 1 color and a forest. It's an enchant permanent. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+1 and has trample. And as long as enchanted permanent is an equipment, it has equipment creature gets +1/+1 and has trample. There's Provoke the Trolls for 3 colors and a mountain, and it says deals 3 damage to any target. If the creature is dealt damage this way, it gets +5/0 until end of turn. Then we have Immersion Raider for 1 colors and a mountain, and when it enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Then we have Icebreaker Kraken for 10 colors and 2 blue islands, and it costs 1 less to cast for each snow land you control. When it enters the battlefield, artifacts and creatures target opponent control don't untap during their next player's untap phase. Return 3 snow lands you control to their owner hand. Return Icebreaker Kraken to its owner's hand. Then we have Ice Hide Troll for 2 colors and a forest, and for 2 snow permanents, a troll gets +2/0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. Then we have Valor of Withering for only 1 plains. It's an enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. And when it leaves the battlefield, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Then there's Tundra Turmoil for 1 color and 2 red. It says it deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Add a colors for each snow spent to cast the spell. Until end of turn, you don't lose life this mana as steps and phases end. Then there's Crippling of Fear for 2 colors and 2 swamp. Choose a creature type. Creatures that aren't of the chosen type get -3/-3 until end of turn. Then there's Axgard Baggarat for 3 colors and a plains. Boast. Untap Axgard of Baggarat gets +1/+1 and counter on it. Then there's Imistrum of Skullcairn. It comes in play tapped, and then you can add a swamp or pay 1 color, a swamp, and 2 mount. Sacrifice. It deals 3 damage to the target player. Then that player discards a card. Activate this ability only if you can cast as a sorcery. Next is the Raven's Warning for white and blue for colorless. It says Sega. So the first one is create a 1/1 blue bird token. With flying, you gain 2 life. Then you have whenever one or more creatures controlled with flying deal combat damage to a player this turn, look at the player's hand and draw a card. And for phase 3, you may put a card from your own from outside the game on top of your library. Then we have Ruin of Flight for 1 color and an island. It says when Ruin of Flight enters the battlefield, draw a card. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it has flying. Then as the permanent isn't equipped, it has equipped creature has flying. We have Eradicator of Valkyrie for 2 colors and a swamp. flying, lifelink, hexproof from Planeswalker, and it has Boast, which is really cool. Then we have Rune of Mortality. It costs 1 colorless and a forest, so when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. As long as the enchant permanent is a creature, it has Death Touch. And then it has enchanted permanent is an equipment, it has an equipment creature, it has Death Touch. Next is the Herald of United Elves, and it's a set card, so the first one is mill 3 cards. You may put an elf or a Tavar card from your graveyard onto the battlefield. Then put a +1/+1 counter on each elf you control, and then whenever an elf you control attacks this turn, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Then we have Rune of Sustenance, 1 colors and 4 planes, and it says enter the battlefield, draw a card. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it has lifelink. Then we have Majab, Bredegard, Protector, the legendary human warrior for 2 colors, forest, and planes. Other creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under control, create a 1/1 white human warrior creature token. Next is Shepherds of the Cosmos, and it is a flying, and whenever it enters the battlefield, return target permanent card with a command cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield with Foretell. Next we have is Broken Wings for 2 colors and a forest, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Then we have Coma's Faithful, and it has lifelink, and when it dies, each player mills 3 cards. Then there's Valkyrie's Sword, and when it enters the battlefield, you may pay 4 colors or in white. If you do, create a 4/4 white angel warrior creature token with flying with vigilance, and then attach the sword to it. Equipped creature is +2/+1 with equip 3. Then we have Wither Crown, and it says enchant creature. Enchanted creature has a base power of 0, and it has at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life unless you sacrifice a creature. Next is Faceless Haven, and it says tap to add a colors, or for 3 snow, it says becomes a 4/3 creature with vigilance, and all creature types until end of turn it is still land. Then we have Jara Mirror Lake. It comes in a battlefield tapped. It could be adding tap 1 island, or you can pay 2 forests, an island, and 2 colors to tap it. Say, create a token of the copied creature you control, except it enters the battlefield with additional +1/+1 counter. Activate this ability, or if you can cast a sorcery. And last but not least, we have Vault Robber for 1 colors and a mountain. It says for 1 colors, exile creature card from your graveyard, create a treasure token for that 1/3. And at the time of making this video, this is all the English cards that are previewed, so I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening.